I started my martial arts training in 1951. This was an accident. I saw a show made by the Scout, and this Scout was mainly judo and jiu-jitsu mixed, because that time judo and jiu-jitsu was the same. They had a few days of jiu-jitsu, a few days of judo. I was very impressed, and he was a guy who came just to France to work, to learn how to be a chief in the kitchen. But he was Japanese, and he was a Shoren Ryu, and he started to teach me. I did not know what was Shoren Ryu or any styles, but he started to teach, and I was very impressed, and liked the dynamic and the way he was moving, and I was fascinated. So this is my way of starting. I involved myself. It was a little bit difficult for me because I was living in a boarding school. So I have to escape all the nights over the walls to go to the training. I have to be accepted because I did not have any money. But those people was very idealistic. And they didn't care too much about payment or anything. They helped me also to go back to the boarding school over the wall again and run. It was dangerous sometimes because I have to go in a very, very dangerous way back through the window, with hoping that nobody will shut the window. So I was involved nearly on a daily basis. When I was not there, I was training myself. What they taught me, I applied it. My first teacher was Hiroshi Savabe. But he was not a clear cut like it is today between styles, and we don't know nothing because karate was unknown, totally unknown. We was only 3 students and in the private basis. So it was nothing we know about the history, the martial art history, and he didn't know too much either. First of all, I was training with the time Hiroshi Savabe was there in Europe, and it was about 5 years. So already I had some level, and before he left, he gave me in '57 my first black belt. That time we don't know much about Dan, no Dan. To have a black belt, it was like to come from the sky. It was like the paradise. It was a very tough examination, very tough training, but still in the private basis. So we know what is black belt because we know judo, and I was also training judo, so we know I was a black belt in judo also. So I know what was a black belt. It was mythological at that time. Nobody was thinking about dance and any level. Just you have the black belt. It was the mythology. You are a black belt. After that, I went to the Foreign Legion. So in the Foreign Legion, we was training a lot of close combat. But the ancient and very useful way of training close combat, because the Foreign Legion has something, the Foreign Legion was built in 1831. So it's a lot of traditions, experiences, specifically in the colonial field, in Africa, in China, in all the equatorial situations. And so they was using close combat because always the Foreign Legion was a minority against the big majorities. They were involved in fightings where it was few legionnaires who have to fight many people, and they was ready to die to the last one just to keep the task on. So what I did is a double techniques. Why? Because I blocked here, but he can still punch with his hand. So I counter to avoid the punch. But I'm ready also if he's punching, doesn't matter because his hand is working. But also here, I double, so he gets a shock down and the second to the face. I think what is specific in Shito-ryu, it is first is many kind of Shito-ryu. This is specific also. But some of them, I think, lost their contact with the old realities. I mean, the practical and pragmatical approach was created the style of Shito-ryu. Secondary, people are mixing also what is today katas. Shito-ryu has a lot of katas. But it's not because the katas of Shito-ryu was better. It is because Mabuni Kenwa had an ambition. He was to keep the karate in life for all the coming generations, the generation to come. So he integrated in his training not only the basic kata of and a style, he tried to integrate every kata he know, and if he don't know one, he made one. So originally Shito he was not, he was a mixed, of course, but he was not so much emphasis on the number of katas. Also, the basic, we use what we call kick shock and double twist. It means we use the principles who are used in every sport. Nobody can play tennis and stay with the body stiff. Only karate people can stay with the body stiff and do movements. Everybody uses hips to punch, to kick, to the shock. If you see an animal who jump, take a rabbit or a kangaroo, doesn't matter which one of them. Maybe kangaroo is nicer in America because it's a little bit fat. When he jumps, so he gives a very strong shock on the ground before he jumps. So this was put in application inside karate. From pragmatic development and empiric development, it was changed to a systematic development. It's what attracted me, because the human muscle power or physical power has a limitation for everyone else. But the principles can be developed all life. And you can use the principles like an engine to propel your techniques. For instance, we can say like that when we talk about ikite, the simple thing of ikite. People doesn't know why we do ikite. If you ask 90% of the karate people doesn't know why. They don't understand that this is a mechanical principle where two parallel forces become one in the point of shock. It means you double your impact, your capacity to give an impact without to develop your muscles or your speed, just because you use ikite. So this is the principles who attract me in Shitoryu. Okay, what I did, my gari is very powerful. So I went on the side light, just to avoid to make him to go on the side, the kick to pass by. To avoid the countering, I counter immediately. But maybe he stand in the power, it just give a shock. So I took the leg with the ashibarai, but counter before he can fall down. So it's totally neutralized. And the shock is a terrible shock. So he will fall anyway from the shock. Doesn't need to fall from the ashibarai even. Okay, I went to Japan many times. I was in Okinawa also many times. And I was very close to few of the great masters. Not just passing by. I was good friend with Ayashi sensei, a very good friend with Miyazato sensei, I had Fujiwara sensei, I had many friends. I will not tell all the list, but a few of the well-known. I trained in different places, including Shotokan and different styles, to see what it was. Shorenji-ryu, I was a round trip in Japan to train with different masters, from Shorenji-ryu, Ken Shikan to another styles, Renshinkan. And what my experience it is that everybody believes that he has the truth, but nobody has the truth. Because the lock of karate in generally is the roots, the knowledge of the roots. If you see, mostly what we know about modern karate was transmitted by tales, or by teacher to teacher to teachers. So everyone, is what we play when we are kids, the broken telephone. You say giraffe in the left side, and it's coming out like a dolphin or a shark. Everybody change the word. So the broken telephone works very well in karate. And everyone looks after legitimacy. So I can say like that, I see many of the masters, but I don't see them in the whole pictures, many of them. They were the student of that and that, or this famous one, but I don't see them. What I have myself, I have some kind of representative chief instructor diploma in Shito, which is written by somebody very well known in Shotokan, because he was writing much nicer, Mr. Gima-sensei, which is a very historical name. So one, there was no boundaries between styles. They were moving from Osaka to Tokyo, from Tokyo to Osaka, from the north. Everybody was working with everybody. It was some kind of solidarity and some kind of feeling to develop what is the art of karate. Before it becomes these blocks of styles, of organizations, mostly styles is the same like organization. I have, from these masters, some of them treat me very, very nice. Sometimes the start was very brutal, like with Hayashi, the start was brutal. But he learned to respect me like I respected him, and the respect became friendship. Like Miyazato also, the beginning was very cold. I was training with Shukokai Shojiro Tani and Fujiwara Fujitani. I went to Japan a few times. We never break the boundaries because they was considering all the Europeans or Americans like idiots. I mean, we was not in the same level of the mankind. So we was behind the line. So it's a very mixed feeling between very involved Japanese who loves and they have the internal flames for karate, and Japanese who do it because they did it. And they get in heritage a style of school, or style, a major or minor style, and they just develop it. But basically they don't have the capacity because all students left the place and went their own because they didn't accept, because the master was, I will not give any names, but I know, for instance, one, his father was a great famous in Okinawa, but the son who inherited the style is drinking too much alcohol. So he don't get the respect for the karate community. So it's a very mixed approach. I'm not, and also something which I emphasize sometimes, very few times, but I will do for you today, is the fact that you can be a great karate master, very nice technique, very superiority in kata, komite, everything you want. But it doesn't mean that there is a hierarchy between the mankind, because between the mankind is no hierarchy. The hierarchy is a hierarchy of functions. You are the chief instructor, you are the one who decides. But this is the pyramid of the functions. It's functioning, it makes the system to functioning. But it's not a hierarchy between mankind, because we are in front of God, even if you don't believe. If you are not a believer, it doesn't matter. The fact is, we are, every one of us, we are equal in this way, in the matter of hierarchical. And what I love with karate in Japan, it was, doesn't matter if you come with a Porsche outside, or you come with bicycle. For instance, I was training with one sensei, which is not very famous at all. He was a student of Shojiro Tani, the best one, Maeda. And he was coming from the job with his bicycle to train, to teach, because he was a poor guy. So, but in the matter, so this is what I want to emphasize. Don't believe because you are sitting on the top of an organization that you are something in the matter of mankind. You are the same like everybody with 2 legs, 2 arms. But you are in this system included, you are the best, the top, you sign. So I absorb, instead to just punch like that, I use the double twist, like a whip, BAM! You see the power? Yes. I absorb it like that. This hand just give you, easy to punch. One shoot, same hand also, easy. But I am here, I protect myself. He's punching, BAM! Yes. BAM! Easy to protect. And immediately punch back. So I don't give him the chance to move 2 steps, only 1 step. We talk about competitions, so you have to, the approach is from the instructor side. Or the competition is the major issue in your life, which will eliminate it from the dojo about 99% of the students. Or karate is a way of life, is a long way of life, and some of the dojo members are participate to the competition, which is generally not more than 5%. So the result should be seen through this mirror also, this lens. The second thing, it is, karate is dangerous art, because the meaning behind the techniques, it was to, not only to deflect, for instance, an attack, to deflect it with full power, to avoid any more attacks. Every kata starts with a defense. No kata was started with an offensive technique, which is mean that it was a art of self-defense. But this 360 degrees will make it very difficult for any referee to referee properly. Because if you go ipponikite against the eye, it's very difficult. So they chose to have techniques who limited the movements, not like it was once from the beginning, but still limited. You cannot use all the techniques of the register in karate. The dangerous things, I think, is the loss of the control in from 2 points of view. One point is to lose the control of the people who are members of your dojo. When you are not a master anymore, you don't give them, you are not the sensei in the true meaning. You just give them to fight and to win. Generally, they don't become the top fighters anyway. But they become very aggressive because this is the main goal of their life. Because they get ranks, they get privileges according to that. Personally, my dojo, I think, if you say, we have about 15 persons who compete. Between these 15 is 12 children today. The adults, only 3 compete. We are national champion, Scandinavian champion. We are a lot of titles, national team. And the kids, they have each competition 1 medal. We just participate to relatively few competitions, only organized in the national or regional level or international level. These 3, international, national, and regional level. Organized officially by the federation. Why? Because the referees are educated. They have a control for what is what. So they are damping the fight when it should be damped and not. Now, we can say like that, at the dangerous way of competition, it's when you are losing, when the referees are not anymore educated, when the referees are not qualified, when the goal is just only to win, doesn't matter how or what. And when you lose, so it's always the other one's fault. It's not because he was not good enough, it's because the other one did something and you have to fight him and maybe fight the referee or fight the judge. So this is what happened in many places because you don't have the national structures to keep a high level of competition. But if the competition is made, is also a very integrated part of the development of a karateka. Why? Not because it's karate. I mean, you don't become one step better with with competitions. But as a human being, when you have to try to find some road of connections between the crew, the audience, big audience, who shout, who talk, even if it's very quiet in the karate arena. The referees, to fight the partner, front of everybody, to depending on many parameters, is a tough process for a small kid or for a youngster to be between all these people. But after, when he will be at school or university, when he will present a subject, he will not have a problem, because he knows already to put the parameters together and to mastering them. So in this way, the competition is necessary. So what I did is Nagashi, I use the kick shock and the hip. I'm not going like that, like Oitsuki. Is a technique between Yakutsuki and Oitsuki. I use the shock and the... So in both cases, I have a double twist for my hip and the kick shock to jump fast forward. I will say like that in the 60s, when I came back from the war. The people who trained was very involved. They was burning for karate. They did things, the knowledge was very low, mostly. But they were burning, they were doing things. I mean, if they was told to run around the dojo 27 million times, so they will do it. Because they really from inside. The motivation, you had the Valera, Lavorato, many well-known names in Europe, Tiki Donovans and some others. They were burning from its outside. I know we talked with Dominique Valera. They went, they don't have the money to go to Japan. So I was in Japan because I got an heritage at that time when I come back from the army and I could go. But they could not. So they brought an old Citroën traction and they went all the way with all the visa you need that time in the communist countries, from Paris to Khabarovsk with the Citroën. And they were stuck a few times, it took a few months, and they came back the same way. This was the people. They was ready to fight with all their life, all their economy to train karate. Afterward, it came what we call talents. The people who don't have to fight too much. Already the teachers was created, the basic teachers, the good teachers. In Europe, you had the Sensei Kaze, Sensei Nambu and Kaze, who really built Murakami, who built the quality from the beginning. They was transposing the Shotokan or Shito, it doesn't matter, from Japan to Europe in their way to do so. It was not from the books or from the short experiences in Japan and so on. But when the French was the major organizer of the federation under Henri Play, built the federations, they started to be ranks according to your result in competitions. For instance, when I was teaching in Paris in my small dojo, I had 2 students who was yellow belt, but they won the French championship. So they get Nidan, all of them, or black belt anyway. So this is, and they started to give Nidan, Sandan, or some ranks according to the competition results. Basically, there's no relation between competitions and karate in this way, because the ranks is something between you and your sensei, and your sensei recognizes your ability, your capacity, your knowledge in the art. It's not that you won any championship. It became more, it started to roll in this direction. And some people you have, one was, I don't remember his name, but he was even training only 1.5 years before he became European champion. So what he knows is few techniques, but he doesn't know karate. So the long way people was not always champions, and the champions was not always long way people. Their path was sometimes very short. On the opposite side, many people with already a long path. So it's why you have some very good martial artists who disconnected themselves from karate. Because the karate lost its mythology.
Like
the belt, like Roger Pachi. They connected the mythology. Valera connected also 76. Disconnected himself. Why? Because they don't believe anymore, because he was so subjective. Everything becomes so subjective. And they were working a lot, very tough training. There was a legendary already. Before I came to the Foreign Legion, that time when I trained judo and karate, in karate was really self-defense minded. We don't prioritize the high kicks. We prioritize the kicks on the knee, fumikomis, kansetsugeris, sweeps. And in judo, it was a lot of self-defense included in the judo class. All jiu-jitsu fashion, which become soon Gracie Jitsu and every kind of jitsu. But originally, if you look at the old books, you will see it is very similar to what was learned and taught. And people forgot also that judo has to fight for life in Europe. They made a show against the savate and everything in the Moulin Rouge in Paris in the beginning of the century. I think it's 1902 or 3. And they did the same in England in 1898 to gain the letter of nobility. You say nobility in English, no? Yeah. So karate didn't have really a letter of nobility still. It was still mythological. But people forgot that part of the martial artist was really good in the 50s, who started as judo, kickball, they were even savate, or aikido, or karate-do. They went to the special forces in Algeria. And most of them died because the cottage, the house where they were located, was bombed, exploded. I mean, it was a bomb inside. So most of the top pioneers died, like Jimal Sheikh, for instance. I was always interested about self-defense, and when I came to the Foreign Legion is existing since 1831. The Foreign Legion, by the rules that time, was forbidden to stay in France. So the main compound, I mean the headquarters, was located in Algeria, in Sidi Bel Abbès. It was not allowed to be in France. Most of the legionnaires was never going to France during the time they were in the Foreign Legion. Only the one who got the French citizenship who asked for, after several years of services, or the officer who was French citizen, was going to France. So it was the life of the Foreign Legionnaires. It was in the hostile surrounding area, even during the leaves, dangerous areas. It was many areas. It was forbidden to go inside, just to go inside, even to drink coffee. Very hostile area, with a lot of dangerous knife fighting and close to the inside the cities, and terrorism. So the close combat had two sides, one military side purely, but also a practical side outside when you are military, but you are not in arm. So in the military point of view is when, in some extent, when you are coming inside the caves, where you are coming in the, let's say, in the area where the enemy is located and stand. You have some time in the hall or on the ground. You have to fight them in the close combat way, because you can use arms, either ricochets or the sound make you crazy. You heard nothing. I mean, it's many. The echo is too strong and so on. So you use close combat. But in other way, also when you are in leaves, you have to be ready to any kind of fighting, because it's happened many times with knife, with a razor knife mostly. And they cut the head of people who could not defend themselves. If you just move to some areas, it was not forbidden, but on the edge to be the very dangerous one. So I see, let's say, on the light of the realities, what can be used, what should be used, how it should be developed, is why I invest myself in those techniques and try to find a pragmatical and practical road, how to teach close combat, or to teach for police use, because the police have a different task from the military. The militaries have an objective, and they have to reach the objective by force. People forgot one thing, which is basic, is what Karl von Clausewitz said, is that the war is the continuation of a state politic, only with the violent and bloody tools. So the politics are deciding the war, not the military. The military execute their orders, but you still have to overwin your enemies in fighting. The police, they cannot go to kill, just to kill. They have to overwhelm the opponents or the dangerous I will say criminals, by violence, but in violence which is proportionally to the task. Not over violence. If they use too little violence, they are punching down themselves. If they use too much violence, they will be punished by the state. Well, I will say by the law. So it's a different approach in both cases. So I tried to analyze it, and I found two roads to approach how to train. I will say I cannot say that it's a good system, not in military, not in the police, which I did, what I taught. Only what I can say at the people who was wounded in the circumstances where they was using or close combat or self-defense as a policeman, dropped down drastically to nearly zero. So the system cannot be too bad. Here, it's okay. Okay. So I used to fake his hand to block him, to create a disturbance and instability. Okay? This can be used, of course, like that. But I created a disturbance. So this stability, kakete, is fist punching. Jordan. Okay? So I use it. I don't stay stiff in this when he's attacking, or I'm here. But I try to avoid his attack by going the side with the light. And the disturbance have to be simultaneously with the attack. Because if I am doing like that, and I wait, nothing happens. But if I just take his on, I'm going inside. Something else. Or like that. It's like that.
Today, mixed martial arts is the flavor of the day. It's very fashionable today. What is your opinion about mixed martial arts?
If you ask me tomorrow morning, maybe you don't have any mixed martial arts. But you know, sometimes it's like an elevator. One elevator goes up and one goes down. So they are in the elevator up now. Karate in one way is in the elevator down. Why? Because if you train karate, you need commitment, lifetime commitment. One of my students, he won a few tournaments. He's only 1 month in martial art, in the national level and international level. To get some knowledge in karate is a lifetime commitment. And there's many complicated things. You have to train makiwara, you have to educate yourself, you have to get katas. And from the katas, you have to extract what is substance, what is the kata, what means the kata, what for it was created, which kind of technique is hiding. I mean, it's a job, it's a full-time engagement, involvement. Martial art, you go, you wrestle, you punch, you kick, it doesn't matter how or if you do it nice, not nice, good and not good. And in the end, the strongest one win the match. It's very popular, I understand, because it's easier to come to. Also, I mean, the Roman circus was very popular. Many people went to the Roman circus, but many people go to the corrida in Spain, but still is one bird in the middle. Nobody is going to play the bird in the middle. And in the circus, only few gladiators was fighting. Most of the people was look for the blood. And what happened with the mixed martial art, you are sitting outside, the guy is suffering, the guy gets a smash, the guy gets a strangle, or the girl, doesn't matter. Get a strangle, and you sit and you eat ice cream. Nice position. So I understand that it's popular. Because karate asks from you, even in the competition-wise, to have some understandable level. You have to understand what they are doing, to see how the referee act, why he's giving point and not, why he's 3 and not 1. But mixed martial art, the punch is inside, is not, or the kick is inside, but everything with rule. Everything was rule. It's not a pure fighting art. not more. Competition karate is not a pure fighting art. The fencing is not a pure fighting art. You cannot kill anyone. I mean, if you are fighting in fencing, you get the sword, how you call it, the fleuret inside your hand. You are not going to move down. You are to leave the fleuret down. But when you have a small iron ball on the fleuret, you get hit in the hand. It's not even painful because you have gloves. So you are still fighting. So karate is the same. We have a control. The guy is not dying. So maybe you will say, he was inside, but he's no power. But if you get the same punch in reality or the same kick, you are going to the hospital, at least. But in martial art, you can see the guy is coming. They are coming inside. They are full with tattoo, which make them much stronger physically, which I think is very bad education anyway for the youngster, the generation to come. Full with tattoo. They look like terrible, most of them, and you punch, you kick, the blood is running, and everybody shouting. I mean, it's like some kind of acting, who take the worst side of the humankind, the bloody side, outside. They reacted. When they talked with their boss next day with the tie, yes, massa, like a slaves. The boss said, please, turn the paper 2 times, one on the right, one on the left. They do it. Yes, because they are afraid to lose the job. So in the afternoon, they see the people die, punch him, blood, they shout, kill him, don't kill him. They feel very involved because they feel powerful as an individual. They are not powerful in life, not charismatic. Most of the time, they have very bad jobs or middle qualified jobs. And they find their aggression crystallize in one fight. Nice. I wish the future of martial art be different, because I don't think is the developer of the developing mind, to develop the mankind, the future of the mankind, to punch somebody which is lying or to kick somebody which is lying. Basically, in martial art, is against the concept of martial arts. Because martial arts, even if you kick when somebody is lying or you give, is because if he's out of control, I mean, still is a threat to you or to the society. So you punch or you kick when he's down the ground. But basically, if you don't need it, you don't do it. The future of martial arts, I wish the people will extract from the katas the applications of kata, the deep of the katas. They will find many similarities to judo, modern judo, or old judo. They will find many similarities to many different martial arts. And they will find a path to go for the future of the mankind. I mean, the basic things, modesty, humility, inside power, all these concepts disappear. Today is external looking power. It's not from internal power. Once we study the path to develop an internal power, you don't need to show your power. You show only your power when you need to show it, to defend yourself or to use it for somehow. Today, everything is just show off. And I think the martial art gives an answer to it, especially karate. It gives an answer. People, some of the people with brain, will go back to watch, maybe to say, look, this guy is already 50 years, 60 years. Like me, I'm 67. But still he's active. Still he has a good quality of life. Still is burning for his cause, for his ideal. And I think I'm not the only one. Fumio Demura, for instance. Takeo Kubota probably also. I don't know him enough, but I'm sure. You have this burning inside, which is attract also your intellectual intellect, because you have to understand things. It's not to do a movement, it's to understand why it's done. Martial art, you are the strongest, you are the nicest muscle, the biggest tattoo, you are the strongest, you are the best. This is the judgment. So the criteria of what is for the society good or not good is defined by themselves. One is just to destroy, one is to build. Who want to destroy, who want to build? Make the choice.